Have you ever stopped to think about how something huge, like an entire field of study, actually gets started? For English literary criticism, one name always comes up, John Dryden. But why him? What did he do? Let's dig in and figure out how one man earned a title as massive as the father of English criticism.
Right, so what does it actually take? I mean, to be called the father of something, that's a huge deal. It's definitely not a title you just get by accident. We're about to unpack the evidence and see what exactly set Dryden apart from everyone who came before him. Okay, first things first, that title. It was the legendary writer Dr. Samuel Johnson who first called him this, and boy did it stick. And for a very good reason. To really get why, we need to take a quick look at the literary world before Dryden stepped onto the scene. Now, some of you are probably thinking, hold on a second, what about Philip Sidney? And that's a great question. He was a brilliant writer, a real thinker, and he was around before Dryden. So why isn't he the one with the big title? Well, the answer tells you a lot about what it really means to be a founder.
When you put them side by side, the difference is all about focus and, honestly, sheer volume. Sidney was a genius, for sure, but criticism wasn't his main gig. He left behind a pretty small amount of critical writing, and most of it wasn't even published until after he died. Dryden, on the other hand, well, he was a machine. He pumped out a huge body of critical work, published it all throughout his life, and made criticism a public, central part of his career. It was that sustained, relentless effort that really built the foundation of the field.
Now, to really get Dryden's contribution, you have to understand the world he was living in. He was a product of his time, and that era was completely defined by one powerful idea: Neoclassicism.
So, what the heck is Neoclassicism? In a nutshell, it was this big movement where writers and thinkers looked back to the classics, the heavy hitters from ancient Greece and Rome, and used their work as the ultimate guide for how to create great art. This was Dryden's entire world. He didn't see himself as starting from scratch. He saw himself as standing on the shoulders of giants like Aristotle and Longinus, using their incredible ideas as the launchpad for his own work. But, and this is so important, he wasn't just a copycat. This is where his real genius kicks in. He wasn't just repeating what the ancients said, he was taking their wisdom and adapting it, making it relevant for the people of his own time. And if you want the #1 piece of evidence for how he did this, look no further than his famous definition of what a play should be. This is where you can really see his mind at work, perfectly blending the old with the new. And here it is. Just take a second to read that. This single sentence is absolutely packed with ideas that would go on to shape English literature for generations. It looks like a simple definition, but it's really a powerful argument for a whole new way of looking at art.
Let's break this down because it's like a perfect 3-part recipe. First, you've got the form of the play. It's a just and lively image. Second, you've got the content. It shows our passions and humors, our emotions and our personalities. And third, the purpose. Why are we doing this? For delight and instruction. And as we're about to see, every single one of those phrases was a deliberate, game-changing choice. This is where you see just how revolutionary Dryden was. By picking his words so carefully, he was respectfully disagreeing with some of the biggest names in history and carving out his own path. Just look at this breakdown. Plato kind of dismissed poetry as a cheap copy of reality. Dryden comes along and says, no, a just and lively image is incredibly powerful. Aristotle's goal for tragedy was catharsis, purging all those heavy emotions. Dryden says, yeah, but a play should also bring delight and instruction. It's a 2-for-1. And finally, where Sidney aimed for an idealized version of life, Dryden wanted something much more real. And that right there is the heart of it. That's his big innovation. By focusing on our messy, complicated passions and humors, Dryden argued that art should show life as it really is. He took these elegant, classical ideas and injected them with a powerful dose of modern realism. So, in the end, that's his true legacy. Dryden didn't just tear down the old traditions. He respected their foundations, and then he built a brand new floor on top of them. A floor designed for the world he was actually living in, which, leaves us with a really fascinating question for our own time. In our world of streaming, AI, social media, the old rules of storytelling are getting bent and broken every single day. So who are the Drydens of today? Who's taking the classic rules of art and blending them with the realism of our modern lives to define what's next?
it's definitely something to think about.